Hello, welcome to today's presentation brought to you by Action1. As we can see, we're going to be discussing the idea of 100% patching coverage in just 5 minutes. My name is Sean Carroll, one of the lead technical product engineers here at Action1, and without further ado, let's begin. Okay, first, let's start by talking about some of the key features of Action1. One of the most important things we'll discuss today is the idea of third-party patching. We pair this alongside our software repository that we privately maintain to provide you with a dedicated list of software that you can very easily automate from a deployment standpoint to patch all the devices in your environment. We also include enterprise integrations, such as integrating directly with Enter ID for SSO, along with many more, which can also be accomplished if you'd like as well via our REST API. Now, we also include a vulnerability management feature within Action1 as well. This will allow you to detect vulnerabilities in your operating systems as well as applications in real time, and also be able to enforce remediation. So we'll be able to send remediation requests to Action1 to simply go out and apply the appropriate updates needed to correct that particular vulnerability. We pair all of this alongside peer-to-peer distribution as well. So that way we can easily conserve bandwidth when deploying out third-party patches. We also kind of make sure that whenever we're viewing things in the console, we're doing so via real-time visibility. So whenever I go into the console and I select an area within Action1, the information I'm seeing is real-time in nature. It's not based off a set scan interval. It's going to be immediate. It's going to show me exactly where my environment is at that moment in time. Now, one of the things that we really want to discuss today is how Action1 and Intune can work very well side by side. They're designed to complement each other. Action1, of course, is going to enhance that third-party patching function by giving you a broad catalog. To be able to push out those applications as needed and to make sure that those apps are secure. Again, we have that peer-to-peer aspect for bandwidth utilization and savings that works alongside that third-party application catalog as well. Real-time vulnerability assessments are going to help you prioritize also what kind of third-party apps you want to go about patching. So by looking through and identifying CVEs that may exist, you can use that information to then make a point of targeting the most concerning vulnerabilities first and apply the necessary patches to remediate those. This is also going to be paired alongside a handful of compliance reports as well. They can just let you know from set compliance standard standpoints what you need to be focusing on. Now, all of this, of course, can be automated in some way, shape, or form via various automations you can create within Action1 to be able to push out the necessary updates that are required for your environment. And the best thing about all of this is that Action1 actually offers the first 200 endpoints for free. And that's going to include every single feature we're going to talk about today. So that way you can very easily check out Action1 with no commitment. Okay, just diving into that compatibility with Intune a little bit more. Again, Intune is going to do a great job in regards to things like setting up identity settings, applying standard policies, doing things like autopilot, and also just making sure that you're following set compliance standards across the board as well. Where Action1's going to certainly be able to assist is going to be things along the lines of autonomous OS and third-party patching, real-time vulnerability assessments, giving you visual dashboards to understand where you and your organization are currently at. All this, of course, is going to be possible via remote actions that don't require any kind of VPN as well. And also, we're going to include Windows Server coverage as well, so you'll be able to patch those Windows Server's devices also. So that's going to be a part of the Action1 suite as well. Now, without further ado, let's proceed forward into our demo. Okay, now that we're at our Action1 console, we can see what we're going to basically show when we first log into Action1. We're going to be asked to get started with Action1 by installing the respective agent onto our device that we want to work with. This agent is going to be very simple and easy to install via deploy and push via Intune. And at that stage, once you have the agent installed, you'll then start to see your device appear here on the screen, very clearly showing you what updates are missing in your environment, as well as what vulnerabilities exist around those various vulnerabilities. Now, when we look at our devices, we can click on each individual device. We can see things along the lines of what updates are currently pending in our environment, and then we can choose to deploy these out as needed. So I can see a variety of third-party applications here. I could very easily select these, say, deploy, and choose to push these out to my devices as necessary. Now, again, Action1 strives itself on being real time. As such, when we deploy out patches in question, we should need to begin pretty much right away. There's little to no delay, and we are going to get quite a bit of feedback from Action1 in regards to the different deployments that we have performed. Now, if you want to view that feedback either as it's running or from a historical standpoint, you can go to our history section here. We can see various updates that we have deployed, such as this recent Adobe Reader update. And we can very quickly see that this completed in just a few minutes and was able to fully download and install that package for us on our behalf. Now, of course, we probably don't want to be doing this patching manually. We don't want to go to each device and be running through these different processes. Instead, we want this to be a fully automated process. And what we try to do is make this as easy as possible. Again, we want to get this set up in as little as 5 minutes. So as such, we're going to want to create new endpoint groups to target. Now, within Action1, we simply create an endpoint group here. We'll then be asked to name and give our group a description. And then we can add in various criteria that we want to work with as well. Now, this is automatic criteria that we can choose from. So I could pick things like ADOU, AD security group as my grouping criteria. I can pick various custom attributes that I can create via PowerShell query as well. Or I could pick something like IP address ranges. If I'm working with a particular VLAN in question, I can add that as my grouping criteria using and/or logic as well. There's quite a few ways to get these set up and created. Now, of course, when we're making these groups from a patching standpoint, we probably want to start by making a, update ring 0, 1, 2, 3, or a patching group A, B, C, D. So that way we can do a controlled rollout of the updates that we want to be deploying. Now, once our groups are in place, we're going to want to create some update automations that handle this process for us. And by clicking new automation here, I can choose to either do a deploy update function or an update ring function. Either one will work for a singular deployment, but if we want to do something a little more controlled in regards to rollouts, we'll work with update rings, which we will talk about in just a moment. If we do a standard deploy update function, though, we can talk about some of the general features that are going to be on offer here. First things first, Action1 is going to ask what updates you want to deploy. You can go direct and set all patches. You could do certain filters, so I could target, say, only third-party applications and add in some type of exclusion if I'd like. So I could say I don't want to install Java as an example. I can wrap that in wildcards for any naming conventions that might change depending on the version I'm updating. And that would be a very easy way to set up third-party patching for this particular use case with an exclusion in mind. Now, when we're doing third-party patching, for a lot of testing processes, we'll probably do a fully automatic process. But when we go through and start working within the console here, we can also set manual approval functions as well. So if I would prefer, I can tell Action1 that, I still want to use these filters as necessary, but I want to make a point of approving these updates manually. So if this flag's set, I can go into update approval directly, find the third-party apps that I want to allow in my environment to be updated, and very clearly just tell Action1 I want to approve these patches as necessary. This way I have a little more control over what's being deployed when and where. Now, if we go back to our automation here, we can again pick third-party applications as our primary target, and I can choose a couple other options as well. For most third-party processes, I'm probably going to have this be fully automatic. I'm going to probably not need to reboot any type of systems. For most third-party applications, of course, that can occur. And if you want to make sure it's being done, you can set an automatic reboot as necessary. And when you do this, you can set a brand logo to this message and make this message say what it be. Now, if you want another method to exclude updates on a per automation basis is to go in and click exclude updates here. Action1 will load in a list of patches to then exclude, and you can very easily click add and ignore a certain set of updates that you want to avoid. From there, we can target a particular group of devices. So I can go after my first patching group, and then I can simply say to run now, or ideally, I'm going to make this a weekly function, something that just occurs automatically without any additional steps on my side. This way, I can trust that my third-party applications are being fully patched on my behalf with no manual intervention that has to come from me. This way, I know that I'm reducing my vulnerabilities and getting my patches out in a quick fashion to make sure I'm as secure as possible. Now, we of course then would want to create another automation to target our next group in line, or we consider using our update rings as well. So within Action1, I can then click update ring as a secondary option. And what we're going to see for our first ring that we create it's really quite similar to the process we just followed. We're going to simply pick our filter, target applications, and then set up process to continue forward targeting our patching group A, as an example. And then, of course, scheduling it on the kind of frequency that I want to see. Now, where this changes from what we discussed thus far is that when you go to your second update ring, you make an additional update ring 1, for example, we're going to see that we can go in and we can target our prior update deployment, and we can see all the third-party applications that we process through and the success rate of their deployments. And based off these success rates, I can tell Action1, here's what I consider to be successful. So if an update deployment is at least 50% successful across 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000 devices or more, then I can deploy to my next group of devices, patching group B. So this gives me some automated control over how that process is going to flow. This way, if something does go wrong, I have an automated check that's going to help keep that under control. Or if something does still get installed when I'm hearing reports from end users, I can also go in and apply manual exclusions as well to keep those particular updates from being deployed to any future update rings that I may create. Now, ultimately, one of the big reasons that we're doing this patching component, of course, for third-party updates, is we want to get our vulnerabilities under control. So as a second piece that we want to discuss is this vulnerability section here, where we can see a variety of CVEs being reported from a third-party standpoint. As you begin to patch your devices, you're going to see this report data start to clear up. You're going to see less and less vulnerabilities on the third-party side. But one of the things that Action1 offers that is, generally speaking, a very good value in terms of deployment coverage and just remediating these vulnerabilities as quickly as possible is the ability to select these vulnerabilities and say start remediation. By doing this, we're going to load in the respective CVEs, and from there, we're going to then choose to deploy these updates out to all of our devices. It's a great process to follow for things like 0 days or other vulnerabilities that are a concern. Or if need be, you can also even uninstall the piece of the software if you're seeing vulnerabilities from particularly old piece of software as well. This all comes together here then in our dashboard, where we can easily set various compliance standards via our SLA section here within the console, where we're going to be able to tell Action1 what we consider to be successful, what aligns with our compliance standard that we're trying to achieve. By clicking this configuration wheel here, I can set my own standards here as necessary based around my compliance standard I'm trying to adhere to. And from there, Action1 will tell us if we are overdue or within compliance. And even from this section, I can click on these various areas and be brought to different areas within the console to then target these respective vulnerabilities and updates as necessary. The other final thing of note here is going to be our report section. That's going to give us a large swath of information around where we sit from a patching standpoint. So I can very easily see what is going on in my environment in regards to third-party updates. And that way I can make sure I'm patching these as correctly as possible so I know what's missing, among various other reports that may give me just a host of internal data around things like what software is installed and how I should potentially be going about managing those items. The one final thing of note as well when it comes to the third-party patching component is to note that you can also add in your own third-party applications. A lot of businesses run various niche pieces of software, and it would be important for us to note that you can go into our repository here and upload your own software into Action1 to make sure that those are being patched in an appropriate manner. Now, we do support a variety of x86, x64, and ARM-based software applications when you are doing this process. So you can simply click Add to Repository, add in your own versions over time for controlling this. And then from there, you can simply go forward and upload that software into Action1. We just work with 32 gigabytes per package upload. And from here, you can then process and work with those particular pieces of software and have those patched automatically through your various automations that you can create within Action1. With that being said, that covers our overview of the Action1 console and how we can use that to set up our various deployments and patching automations for third-party applications within as little as 5 minutes. And it's also going to cover a various couple items around vulnerability management as well. I want to leave these on the screen just in case anybody does want to scan the QR codes in question to be able to sign up for Action1. Again, those first 200 points are free. And then you can also switch to Action1 if you're currently using another tool at no additional cost using our promotional switch offer.